I'm about to go see Disney's Strange World, and I have no expectations for this film because, let's be honest, the marketing has not been good for this movie. They revealed basically nothing. I have no idea really what this movie's about. I think that's pretty obvious. I mean, it's about a family of explorers. They're going to a strange place. The father was lost, and he and his son are estranged, and that's about it. So, like I said, I don't really have any high expectations for this film. It's not one that I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta see it. But it is Disney, it is animation. I enjoy those things. I've been doing things all Thanksgiving weekend, and yeah, it's dreary and rainy. And this is the first showing, so I figured, you know what? Let's come see this. It's not a long movie. And who knows? The reviews for it have been okay. People have been enjoying it, seems. So, yeah. I thought about 3D, but then I'm like, nah, you know what? I'll take an earlier viewing over the 3D. So, yeah. Gonna go in, see how this movie is, and I'll let you know what it's like after I've seen the movie. Alright? So, I'll see you then. Oh my gosh. Is this real, guys? Am I actually getting a movie review out on the day I actually saw the movie? Hold on a sec. This has to be a dream, right? I mean, let's see. Hold on. Nope. I guess it's real. That's different. But honestly, I got out of seeing Disney's Strange World, as mentioned in the intro, and I really had no expectations with this. Like I said, I knew very, very basic stuff based on the trailers, and they really didn't deliver, so I had no preconceived notion going into this film. Besides that people said, it's good. And I have to say, yeah, it's good. It's definitely not the best Disney animated movie ever. And it's just weird too. I mean, some would say it's strange. But let's start off with the characters and the voice cast. Overall, the voice cast did a great job. They expressed what they needed to express. They brought the characters to life. You could feel the emotion behind all of them. You could understand, or you could feel the way that they were thinking, how this world is, what's going on, trying to figure things out. Overall, like I said, things worked. The voices were fine. You got some star power behind it. But the truth is, the movie wasn't about the stars, and it wasn't about the voice cast. Again, they did a great job. They made me care about characters. They brought the characters to life. They did what they needed to do. And I will admit, Searcher especially really did grow on me, especially with Jake Gyllenhaal's voice. He was the one that I'm like, okay, yeah, I can see him in this character. But none of the voices really were like, oh my gosh, he's perfect. There's nobody else that could voice that character. There was really none like that. And that might have been around the story itself. Which the story itself is interesting. I'm just going to flat out say it's interesting. I do understand now a little bit why the trailers might have been vague to a certain degree, because the reveal at the end is pretty interesting and pretty like, oh my gosh, okay, I did not realize that's where we were going with this. And it does kind of make me want to rewatch this movie when it comes to Disney Plus. I don't think I'm not gonna go pay to see this movie again, which might give you a hint as to what my ranking of this movie will be. But I definitely feel like I'm going to watch it again when it comes on Disney Plus, just to take more notice of the surroundings and try to piece together more about this world now that I know how it ends. But the story is definitely an interesting one. It's it's one that we have seen before. You know, a son is estranged from his father, and the son is now a father to his own son, and he's starting to have the same things happen to him that happened with his father, and he just doesn't realize it. You know, it's a father-son movie. The best way for me to describe this is, with Turning Red, I saw that more as a mother-daughter movie. Excuse me. That wasn't to say that I didn't enjoy it. That's not to say I didn't like it. But I definitely felt like that was a mother-daughter movie, or a brother-sister movie. You know, the brothers would understand what sisters would go through. This movie, however, this is a father-son movie. This is all about fathers and sons living in each other's shadow, trying to be the best for the other one, maybe thinking they're never good enough, making mistakes, you know, things that most people would go through. But it's put through the lens of a father and a son, or 3 generations of this family, of the men in this family. And I could understand this movie to a certain degree. Now, they, as with most movies, especially ones that I see, they push everything to the extreme. And not everything relates to me as I'm watching it. But if I'm being honest with myself, the ideas of father and sons, maybe not quite sure how to talk to each other, not quite sure how to interact or work with each other. The son maybe feeling like the father doesn't respect him, or just can't see things his way. Or the father maybe possibly thinking the son doesn't understand him, doesn't see why he wants him to do these things. You can't tell. That's the personal part for me. Just some things that I've dealt with, especially recently, you know, with my own dad. The way that my father and I see things. I could relate to that aspect of this movie. You know, primarily, I guess it all comes down to the father sees things one way and the son sees things another way, and they have to work together to understand each other and to, I guess, just come together as father and son. Anyway, getting mushy about stuff again. But I could definitely relate on that level to this movie. And that was good. You know, that was why I liked watching the film. As for the other characters, like I said, the president, I think, was fine, was good. The wife and the other son were good. There were a lot of interesting characters, I'll say. I will say there is one character, he's just annoying. He appears every now and then, and he's probably the comic relief, but I could have done without him. He was just dumb. And if you see this movie, you'll know what I mean. I'm just going to say he's the one in charge of things and ends up having to watch Searcher's son at one point. That's all I'm going to say. That's the character that I'm like, yeah, we didn't need him. But I will say also, the animation's good. It's definitely solid. It looks great. The worlds look strange and weird and interesting, especially when you get to the end and you realize what everything is, or you realize the whole point behind everything. But I try to be as honest as possible. The animation is not something that really blew me away. In the movie, the characters are like, wow, whoa. And I didn't really feel that way. I mean, now if this was real, yes, that would be incredible. And at first, I was like, wow, that looks cool. That looks interesting. But it wasn't stuff that we hadn't already seen in the trailers. That's the thing. If they didn't show certain parts of this world in the trailer and just told us like some of the story aspects, then yeah, maybe everything would have been more wow. I will say, there's going to be a new favorite character. Kind of like how Baby Yoda was, or how Hey Hey from Moana was. You know, these little pet animal type things. The new one's going to be Splat. Splat is definitely cute and fun. He's entertaining. He made me smile, the things he does. And he actually has an arc too. That's not something you get a lot from this type of character, especially in animation like this. Baby Yoda's his own thing. But I mean, when you get characters like Hey Hey and Moana, they don't really ever get their own story arc. Splat does. And it's neat. It's cool. There are some aspects of this movie that it's like, did you really need to do it that way? Now, I've got no problems that they did things certain ways, or they had certain, characters feel the way they do, or certain relationships. But it's like, is that really key to the story? Glad that you did it, but is that but I feel like you did that for these reasons. To show how, look, we're up with the times, and I applaud this type of stuff that they do. But sometimes when story items are just there just to please somebody, that's when I get a little frustrated. But otherwise, I didn't care. But both fathers, both sons, all have their own story arc. Each character does. The president/captain has her own story arc, which is not, I'm going to say, it's not what you expect it to be. I will say that. And one of my favorite things is they have a moment where as soon as it happened, I'm like, okay, that's foreshadowing something. I don't know what, but that's foreshadowing something. Because we haven't gotten certain characters by now, which means that's foreshadowing something. And all I'm going to say is, as soon as I saw this, because it's a game in this universe. As soon as I saw it, I'm like, that's Settlers of Catan. I am sorry. I don't care what anybody says. That is a rip on Settlers of Catan. Which, if you don't know, Settlers of Catan is a game where you try to get resources in this world to build roads, build cities, expand your own empire, shall we say, or just your own settlements. And as soon as I saw this one thing, I'm like, that's Settlers of Catan, but it's their version of it. So I found that to be really cool. I also liked, I saw similarities to other things in this movie. I just couldn't help it. Like, the idea of Godzilla versus Kong and the world underneath. That's here. That I saw that similarity right away. But I will say, like I said, the story's good, but there are some things that happen that it's like, maybe we could have done this differently. Or maybe you could have, I don't know. For as good as the story is, it just feels off. It just feels like it's missing some things. And there is one moment where they name this creature, where they, call one of the creatures by a specific name. And I'm like, wait, did they call it that? I don't remember them calling that. Now, if you see the movie and it isn't it, then I'm totally wrong with this. But there were 1 or 2 moments where I'm like, I feel like we're missing a scene. It might not have been an important scene, but I feel like in that scene that was deleted, they said, oh, this is such and such. And then they just kept the scene that kept the name in it. There are moments like that. I love the intro and I love the outro. They do it in a different animation style. They do it in a comic book type thing. And I thought that was great. But that's me. I love comic books. So anything that has a comic book feel to it at one point, or looks like a comic book, I usually get interested in, as long as the whole thing's not like that. they really treat the opening, they really get you excited, like, okay, here's where you guys said this guy's a big deal. This Searcher's father is a big deal, and here's why. And the way they do it, it's neat because it feels like it's an adventure song. It feels like it's a history of adventuring, which is cool. But yeah, I don't want to give too much away with this movie because the ending's actually kind of neat. Again, it's a strange world, so it's strange. But I feel like they could have probably said more in the trailers, given us a little bit more of the story. But I understand why they didn't do certain things. But I'm having trouble at times, obviously, talking about the story. Because like I said, I feel like there's something missing. It feels like it needed a little bit more tightening up. Maybe put a little bit more something in it. But then you understand, it's like, okay, well, it's not exactly that. Because they're trying to do this. You know, there might have been a mix of Avatar in it. To a certain degree. There's no blue people. I'll say that right now. There's no blue people. But yeah, it felt like overall I enjoyed it. But the thing that kept me invested in the movie was the father-son story. The dynamic between the two main characters. The main father being the explorer and the main son who ended up being a farmer. And that's really what pulled my attention. So, do I recommend this movie? I mean, I do. I definitely feel like it's not getting the credit it should. I definitely feel like more people should have seen it. I mean, I haven't looked at the numbers, so I don't know how much money it actually made. But it's not a great movie. But it's not a bad movie either. So for me, I'd probably put this movie at a... I'd probably give it a sidekick. Which might even be a little too high for it. But let's go civilian to sidekick. Because I just got really invested and I felt a lot, like I've said many times in this video, a connection with the father-son story. And that's what kept me engaged in it. So, yeah. Good characters. Story probably could have used a little bit of work. Animation was fine, not great. Didn't feel like it was exploring any new territory. It's a movie that I would recommend checking out, but maybe at a matinee price instead. You know, and I didn't see it in 3D. I wouldn't recommend seeing it in 3D. You don't need that. But if nothing else, when it does come to Disney Plus, I would recommend checking it out. With that being said, what do you think? Have you gone to see Strange World? Or is this one that completely flew under your radar and you didn't even know it was out? You didn't even know it was a movie? Whatever. Has my opinion changed your mind at all? Do you think you want to go see it now? Or are you going to give it a chance? If you've seen the movie, what are your thoughts on it? Did it move you the same way it did me? Or did you get a different feeling from it? Whatever your thoughts, don't forget to comment down below and let me know about them. And don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it and stick around for much more content. But until the next review, the next show, whatever, remember, read what you love, enjoy what you love, and let's all work for a better fandom. I'll see you next time.